The movie begins with a boy talking about the billions of people on Earth, engrossed in their daily lives and unaware of the cosmic laws that govern the world. Those who do notice these peculiarities are individuals whose minds, due to various reasons, can't easily engage with everyday routines. They spend their lives feeling, understanding, and seeing all the patterns and laws of human existence. A well-known Japanese proverb says that the right people are connected by a red thread that expands and contracts but never breaks. This thread eventually brings people connected by fate face to face. Martin Boom lives with his son Jacob in their own world in New York. In his 4,161 days of life, Jacob has never spoken a single word. Yet, his unique perspective on the world allows him to understand it more deeply and accurately than most. Jacob is intensely focused on numbers and calculations, constantly writing the same number in his notebook. At Kennedy Airport, Martin buys 25 used, dead cell phones from the lost and found department for Jacob. Unexpectedly, one of the mobile devices receives a call from its owner, who is currently in Mumbai. The owner urgently needs to retrieve his phone before his daughter's birthday because it contains precious photos of her. An airport employee is ready to jot down the owner's address to return the phone, but an incoming call on his personal phone distracts him and he hastily puts the wrong cell phone on the luggage conveyor belt. Martin Boom rushes to find his son Jacob, who has once again escaped from his educational institution to seek solitude. When Martin arrives at the designated spot, he sees Jacob sitting atop a television tower, calmly drawing in his notebook. Not only have the rescue services been called, but the police have also arrived due to this being a recurring issue. Mr. Boom asks the 911 staff to step back to avoid frightening Jacob further, but he himself can't climb up due to his fear of heights. He shows Jacob the new batch of phones he bought for him that morning, which helps the boy to come down from the tower. One of the rescuers notices that the third consecutive call is recorded at the same time, 3:18, and asks Martin if this time holds any significance for them. Jacob Baum calmly descends and gets into his father's car. Martin is then informed that social services will need to be involved. After a while, the family stops at a gas station. Initially, Martin lovingly watches Jacob, but then, distracted by a school bus, he doesn't notice his son leaving the car without permission and heading towards the school transport. Catching up with Jacob, Martin suggests buying soda in the store and notices that the yellow bus is labeled District 318. In the store, Jacob watches a man buying a lottery ticket. Hearing the numbers the man chooses, Jacob grabs the ticket and hides it in the car. While his father apologizes for the inconvenience caused, Jacob copies the numbers into his notebook and returns the ticket to the owner. The angered man demands that Martin control his snot and punches Martin in the stomach when he tries to intervene. The old phone from Kennedy Airport ends up in Dublin. In a bar at one of the hotels, an excited Miles records the performance of his talented friend Kayla and encourages the future audience to create fan groups for the emerging superstar worldwide. He is confident that the girl will become famous due to the viral content from the cell phone traveling to different countries. To continue this marathon, Miles discreetly places the device into the suitcase of a passing man who is purchasing tickets for a Japanese airline. In a one-room apartment, Randall pins another lottery ticket with the same numbers onto his bedroom wall. One night, Martin is jolted awake by an alarm ringing at 3:18 a.m. After ensuring his son is asleep, Martin leaves the room. At that moment, all the old phones he arranged in a Milky Way pattern begin to ring simultaneously, displaying the same number that matches the lottery ticket numbers. Martin is baffled by how Jacob could have done this, but Jacob's eyes gleam with triumphant joy. Meanwhile, in Baghdad, a young man dreams of becoming a famous comedian like Chris Rock and being so wealthy that his family doesn't have to sell bread every day. However, his mother informs him that their oven has broken down, jeopardizing their income and possibly leaving them homeless. Determined to find a solution, the young man promises to come up with something. The Boom family is visited by Clea Hopkins, a representative from Family and Child Services. During her interview with Martin, she learns that they live in the upscale home left by his late wife, who tragically died in an incident at the North Tower Shopping Center. Clea attempts to show Martin that his situation is more dire than he realizes. As a single father working 50 hours a week, Martin struggles to provide for his family, with Jacob having changed schools 5 times in 7 years. Martin, however, disputes all of the social workers' claims, arguing that despite the challenges, he still manages to fulfill his responsibilities. While Clea tries to communicate with Jacob, Martin notices the numbers from the lottery ticket in a newspaper he found among Jacob's notes and shares this with Hopkins. At that moment, the news announces the winning lottery numbers. Randall, still in the shower, can't believe his ears. He has just become the owner of one of the largest multi-million-dollar prizes in New York. Breathing a sigh of relief, he calls a loved one and says he's ready to come home. The phone's owner, Simon Plinton, calls his wife to share his plans of flying to Tokyo to open a chain of Italian pastry shops. He promises to try to make it back for their daughter's birthday, though Nell sees no reason for it. Anxiously, he asks if there are any photos left of their child from last year's trip to Brighton, only to find out there aren't. A tear rolls down Nell's face as she sits in her little girl's empty room. Clea Hopkins believes that Martin is searching for patterns in numbers due to a lack of healthy communication with his son. However, Martin insists that Jacob is likely trying to connect with others through these numbers. Clea suggests placing Jacob in the city's best clinic, assuring Martin that after 2 weeks of observation, the doctors will create a comfortable and safe environment for Jacob and determine the best approach for him. In Baghdad, two friends stand in a square, brainstorming ways to raise money for a new oven. The guy needs 800,000 dinars to buy it. His friend jokingly points towards the terrorists, suggesting that if they complete a task for them, the money will be on the table by morning. The guy dismisses this idea but is intrigued by the second option. His friend suggests borrowing the oven from Hassan, an acquaintance of his brother. In a hotel room in Tokyo, a young woman dressed in a sailor outfit covertly records a video using the world-traveling phone. An older man, weary of life, approaches her, hoping to find solace in her arms. Miyoko directs him to take a shower and then sneaks away, taking the cell phone and the money from his wallet. The next day, Martin takes Jacob to the clinic, reassuring him not to worry, as it's only for 2 weeks and he will visit him often. Mr. Boom gives Clea a box of phones and asks her to give them to Jacob if he becomes anxious. He also suggests offering Jacob some popcorn, as he loves to count it. Martin tells Jacob how much he loves him, but all he receives in response is silence. As Clea leads Jacob to his room, Martin heads to visit his wife. At the cemetery, he apologizes to his late wife Sarah for not being able to connect with their son and possibly losing him forever. He asks for her forgiveness, knowing he will never be able to forgive himself. Wiping away a tear, Martin discovers a firefighter badge by the gravestone, the number of which is 318. In Tokyo, friends discuss the video recorded in Dublin and plan to create a fan club named Kylie Graham in Tokyo. Taking advantage of her friend's sympathy, Miyoko plans to ask Tetsuo to upload all the information to the computer and publish it online. As for the phone, she plans to leave it for her next client, who is flying to Kuwait in 3 hours. Meanwhile, Martin attempts to find a connection between Jacob's muteness and the mobile phones. He discovers the Arthur Teller Institute online, which guarantees to provide answers to pressing questions. Arriving at the location, Martin finds a residential building and, thinking he got the address wrong, is about to leave. However, the owner asks him about his son, who often climbs the communication tower, and invites him inside. After offering his guests some lemonade, Mr. Teller explains that humanity is surrounded by an electromagnetic field and entities that bind them together. In society, there are people, often children, who act as dispatchers of this interaction. He believes that Jacob's lack of speech isn't a problem, as this skill is likely outdated and may even inhibit human evolution. When Teller learns that no one has taught Jacob mathematics, he becomes even more convinced of his theory. He explains how Jacob independently discovered the Fibonacci numbers, a sequence invented by a 12th century mathematician. These numbers appear everywhere in nature, in the curve of a wave, the spiral of a shell, and the segments of a pineapple. The universe is woven with intricate patterns and systems that are not visible to the naked eye, but if people paid attention, they would see the subtle cause and effect relationships in every sigh, every gesture, every thought. Teller claims that Jacob's universe is unimaginably beautiful, and he simply doesn't have time to talk. Jacob sees how the past, present, and future are interconnected. It's as if he's creating a roadmap that Martin must follow in his destiny. At the clinic, Clea watches as Jacob arranges the popcorn in separate rows. The completed pattern displays her mother's phone number, and she receives a call from her mother a few minutes later, with her mother saying nothing. At that moment, Jacob marks March 18th on the calendar, which greatly surprises Clea. While Randall is ordering tickets to Lindbergh, Virginia, Martin examines the numbers from his son's notebook and finds a phone number associated with the main terminal of the central station. Just then, Hopkins approaches him and informs that Jacob marked today's date on the calendar. Concluding that hour X will occur in 22 minutes, the pair rushes to the central station. Dividing their directions, Martin heads to the right wing, periodically calling the known number to locate the necessary payphone. A man stands near the needed phone booth and refuses to give Martin space, no matter how much he asks. Unable to tolerate the obstruction, Martin turns the man around, only to find it's Randall. In retaliation for the gas station incident, Martin punches him in the stomach, and a fight ensues between them. At 3:19, the men are arrested by the police, disrupting their plans. In Baghdad, the guys break into Hassan's shop. Before grabbing the furnace, they hide from arriving gang members who are sorting through charged phones, one of which is the traveling cell phone. A little girl who accompanies the group waves to the boys, inadvertently revealing their location. While one of the boys is held against the wall, the other manages to escape. The gang leader considers the boy a thief who should be punished by having his hand cut off, but the young man explains that he is a future comedian and didn't intend to steal anything. Initially demanding a joke, the terrorists laugh, but then inquire how he plans to pay for the expensive equipment his family needs. The New York Meteorological Service reports that the city has been hit by the strongest cyclone in the last year. Martin wakes up to his alarm at 3:18 in the morning and listens to a voicemail on his answering machine. The caller identifies himself as Randall Mid, a former firefighter from the 318th Precinct. He recounts that on September 11, 2001, he participated in the rescue operation of the North Tower of the shopping center. On the 87th floor, he found a bleeding woman named Sarah and carried her on himself for 31 floors, but couldn't continue. After checking her pulse, he decided she was lifeless and left her there. For a decade, he's wrestled with doubt over the rightness of his decision. Every day during this period, he buys a lottery ticket, faithfully inscribing the same numbers, 9, 11, 20, 01, 87, 31, hoping that one day they'll be drawn. Now, with the winning ticket in hand, he feels certain Sarah would want him to donate it to those in need. As he listens to a voicemail, Martin's eyes widen. It's followed by his own voice instructing a man to step away from the phone booth. Hastening to replay the message, Martin is suddenly drawn to the TV where the name of a firefighter catches his attention. He discovers that Randall Mid rescued children from a school bus that had skidded off the road in treacherous weather. Reporter Sofia Martinez interviews the hero, who modestly attributes his actions to being in the right place at the right time. Randall reflects that he was merely delayed, missing a train, which put him at the accident site just in time. The revelation hits Martin hard, prompting him to rush to the clinic to see his son. Upon arrival, he's greeted by Clea.
They were right. The numbers, they were right.
I just tried to call you.
He predicted everything. The bus, the kids, 318, the lottery, everything.
The girl informs him that Jacob has likely run home. Mr. Boom dismisses her theory and asks her to follow him, confident he knows where to find his son. That night, Simon Plimpton receives a notification about the phone's service area and requests to be connected to the company's operator for information on the device's location. The operator explains that if the phone is in a restricted area, the information is blocked for security reasons. Despite being in a foreign country, where he's busy opening a restaurant chain, Simon urgently needs to track the device via GPS. The phone contains photos of his deceased daughter, who passed away exactly a year ago. As the operator asks Simon to stay on the line, Miyoko captures Kayla's performance, broadcasted in the heart of Tokyo. She's thrilled that Tetsuo granted her request. When Simon turns back, he's stunned to see slides of his daughter's photos displayed on the large screens. Overwhelmed, tears of joy stream down his face. Meanwhile, a young man heads toward the mosque with a homemade bomb concealed under his jacket. Just as he reaches the location, the operator manages to connect with him, realizing the imminent danger he poses. The young man pleads not to be labeled a criminal, insisting that this act is a desperate attempt to save his family. The operator learns that the young man's idea of complete happiness involves a furnace and devises a plan to help him. She successfully negotiates with the phone's actual owner, who coincidentally also owns restaurants. Pleading with him to remove the battery from the cell phone to halt the countdown, she promises to fulfill his request. At the last second, the young man stops the timer and, overcome with emotion, descends from the wall. Jacob recognizes that the indicator consistently falls within the range of 1 to 1.618 thousandths, a clear mathematical pattern that not everyone can discern. Despite billions of calls and messages flooding the day, loneliness remains an ever-present reality. In Dublin, joyful Kayla celebrates reaching 1 billion views with her friend Miles. Relieved parents commend their son for baking bread once more, and Simon reunites with his wife to share their mutual sorrow with love and understanding. Martin and Clea discover Jacob sitting in the rain atop a metal tower. Realizing his son won't come down willingly, Martin, conquering his fear of heights, ascends the ladder with Clea's help. Upon reaching Jacob, he finally expresses the words his son longed to hear, that he sees and understands him. Martin reveals that it was Jacob's actions that saved the children on the school bus. The boy embraces his father for the first time in what feels like ages, only to swiftly retrieve his cell phone and input a new set of numbers. Explaining to Clea that these are new map coordinates, Martin dials the new number, reaching out to the new subscriber, Ernie, to convey the significance of this unusual call. Have you ever encountered special people? How did they impact your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next videos.